All right, good day, everyone. So we are already in the teaching and assessing of speaking. So we are just going to discuss here the different theories under teaching and how do we teach or how are we going to teach and assess speaking. Okay. So first question, what is speaking? Okay, ano bang speaking? No? And what do we teach in speaking or how do we teach students to speak? So, according to this definition, speaking is the process of building and sharing meaning through the use of verbal and nonverbal symbols in a variety of contexts. It is crucial part of second language learning and teaching. So speaking is not only how do students or how do we use oral language, but it also talks about our nonverbal symbols, our nonverbal cues. So it's not just how do we pronounce words, how do we utter words, how do we produce utterances, but it actually also talk about how about our nonverbal gestures, okay, nonverbal cues or nonverbal symbols. Okay, so what do we teach in speaking? What are the skills that we teach to our students when it comes to speaking? Because of course, it may the first thing that may come up to your mind is how do they pronounce properly? How do they enunciate and about their diction and such, no? About the vocabulary that they use. Pero what do we really teach in speaking? All of is that all? Yun lang ba? No? How do they produce language? Kaya sounds. Okay, so later on we will find out. And how do we teach students? What are the approaches that we can use in teaching students how to speak or in speaking skills? Okay, now how would you teach and assess speaking? Paano ba natin ituturo at paano ba natin i-assess ang speaking skills ng isang bata? No? How can we teach them speaking skills and how can we also assess their speaking skills? Now, according to Burns in 1998, there are two approaches in teaching students how to speak. Okay, so there are two approaches. The first one is the direct or controlled approach. When we say direct or controlled approach, the earners focus on getting the forms of the language right through direct instruction of grammar, pronunciation drills, structure manipulation, and conscious raising activities. So direct controlled approach, meaning you are giving activities or lessons to your students that this are, or for example, you're giving them the list of words and then the IPA of that word, or how do they need to, or how are they going to pronounce that words? No? So, directly mong binibigay. You are giving them directly what do they need to learn. Like the pronunciation, like the grammar. No? It's direct approach because you are teaching them the form. Teaching them directly the form, how to pronounce words, the words that they need to pronounce, and the vocabulary that they need to learn. Direct approach. The other one is indirect or transfer approach. Now, this is frequent practice with their peers. Learners will transfer speaking skills from classroom to real life communication. So, if direct controlled approach is you teacher teaching them, giving them the forms, giving them the rules, giving them the correct pronunciation of words, having them have drills, pronunciation drills one by one, they will pronounce words. In indirect and transfer approaches, that it's not directly. No? So what are you going to do? What you give in this approach is that you are just allowing them to practice frequently, no? To communicate or use the English language to talk with their peers. Kaya you allow them to listen to, you give them inputs that about the or inputs that uses English language. Okay, so indirect transfer approach, you are not directly teaching them. No, you're not giving them the words that they need to learn, what are the words that they need to pronounce properly, what is the grammar. But in this case, you are just giving them activity or the chance to just use the language with their peers. Okay, and by that your aim is still for them to pick up, no, some rules or to practice their communication skills or pronunciation skills by talking with others. Okay, so that's a difference. Direct and indirect transfer, direct or controlled approach, or indirect and transfer. Now, what is better in this one? No, I think it's still okay, or it's all right to teach them drills, giving them drills, but it's also okay to give them activities where they will practice their speaking skills. So it's the good way to teach speaking is a combination of this. So, hindi ka lang lagi dapat direct. Hindi ka lang lagi dapat nagbibigay ng mga bata ng drills. Like, give them the words that they have to pronounce. And then, afterwards, itetest mo sila kung napopronounce na ba nila ng tama. So, hindi lang dapat that. So, you can use both direct and indirect approach when you are going to plan for activities in speaking or teaching speaking. Okay? Now, the target in speaking skills or teaching speaking is for them to have speaking competence. But what is speaking competence? No, it's not just about their pronunciation. It's not just about their enunciation. Okay? Yun yung sinabi kanina, di ba? It's both verbal and non-verbal. So, what you want them to have is the speaking competence. At pag sinabi natin speaking competence, they should have correct grammar when they utter words. When they communicate, they have the correct grammar. They should use appropriate speech style or register. Okay? Appropriate speech style or register. Ibig sabihin, they know what register are they going to use based on the relationship, based on the context where they are. Should it be intimate register, casual register, formal register, consultative register, or frozen register? So dapat the students also know what register should they use depending on who they are talking to or what is the context. Now, they should also know their aim. What's their purpose in communication? Okay? So, and they must also use different communicative skills. Ano yung mga communicative strategies, no? They must know how to nominate a topic, how to control the topic, how to terminate the conversation, and also how to repair during the conversation. So all of this, yung mga speech styles, communicative strategies, I will not give it to you anymore because I believe that you have already discussed it in your oral communication. But these are the things that the student must have in order to say that they are competent in speaking. Hindi lang dapat sila magaling mag-pronounce, but they can speak, in know that they can speak in a way that they know what is their purpose, and they speak in a way that they use or their utterances depends on who they are talking to and what is the context. Now, where are they? What is the setting? Where are they having conversation or communication? Okay? Yun ang speaking competence. Now, what is the goal of teaching speaking? What is our goal? Yun na nga, di ba? To make the students competent in speaking, for them to achieve speaking competence. Pero ano pa? No? The goal of teaching speaking should improve students' communicative skills. Because only in that way, students can express themselves and learn how to follow the social and cultural rules in each communicative circumstances. Okay? So, that is our goal. It's not our goal to make to produce student who can pronounce in a way that is like a native speaker. No, it's not the goal kasi mahirap yun. If we want them to to speak in a way, no, speak in English in a way like how natural speakers do. It's not the goal. The goal is they will use their speaking skills to communicate, no? In a way that they can express themselves. Sabihin, when they speak, they will be understood, they will be listened. So that their audience will listen to them. Okay? Yeah. So, what else? Pero it's not bad, no? If your students can already communicate well, it's not bad to also um level up your goal, no? Pwede mo naman siguro, yes, kung gusto mo talaga or gusto ng estudyante na matuto in a way that they can speak in like a natural, like a natural English speaker, and then it's not a problem. Pero hindi natin pwedeng sabihin sa mga bata or ipilit sa mga bata that they, at the end of the day, no, at the end of that quarter, at the end of their level, no, at the end of all the teachings that you dapat makapag-produce din ng mga native or mga students that speaks like a native. Okay? Now, yeah. In teaching speaking, you must know what functions. No? What is the function of speaking? So in that way, you will know ano ba yung function na gusto ko or kailangan ng bata na i-develop. Kasi ang pagsasalita, there are different functions. Why do we speak? There are different purposes. Why do we speak? Okay? Or there are different purposes. Why do we want to speak? For what? Para saan? Bakit ko gusto matutol? Magsalita? Saan ko gagamitin? Now, the first thing that you must do is to identify your students' needs and your students' strengths and weaknesses. So in that case, when you already identify their skills, their wants, their needs, and strengths in speaking, ngayon mo alamin, ano bang function ng speaking ang kailangan kong i-hone or i-develop sa aking estudyante. Pero bago yon, let us find out what are the functions of speaking. Ano ba yung mga function ng speaking? Now, this is according to Brown and Buell. Okay? But this framework that Brown and Buell, or this three-part version of Brown and Buell, is based on Jones in 1996 and Burns in 1998. So Brown and Buell categorizes the function of speaking into three. The first one is talk as interaction, talk as transaction, and then talk as performance. So tatlo yan. Okay? So these three functions also, depende kung anong function ang gusto mong or ang need ng bata or need mo i-develop sa bata. Nakadepende din sa function kung yung approach, no? What are the things that what are the skills na kailangan in each function. Okay? So let's first have the talk as interaction. When we say talk as interaction, it refers to what we normally mean by conversation and describes an interaction that serves as primarily social function. So this function of speaking is, the first one is for interaction. So having speaking to have conversation for conversation purposes. Okay? So most of the time kasi, no, pag sinabi nating speaking, at the end of the day, what we want our students to have is to deliver a speech. Kaya, to perform, no, para malaman natin na marunong sila magsalita or that they can speak already. But, hindi lang dapat ganon. We must also know ano pong function ng speaking ang gusto kong i-hone or i-develop sa bata. So, pwede itong isa. This is the first one, and this is also the hardest one. Kasi how are you going to teach student to speak or to talk for conversation level, for interaction level? Okay? So, ito yung mga skills na kailangan mong i-develop sa bata if you are going to teach talk as interaction. First, they must know how to open and close conversation. It sounds easy, but it's actually hard, no? To open and to close a conversation. For an introvert, it's hard to open a conversation, to have small talks. And for some, it's also hard to end or to close a conversation. No? Some people, or many people are having a hard time, paano ko kaya i-end to? Kailangan ko na umalis. How would I end? So, it's also a thing that we or a topic or a skill that we should teach to our students, no? Paano ba mag-open at mag-close? What are the techniques, strategies to open and close a conversation? And they must also learn that it is important that in every conversation you just don't leave it hanging, but they must also close the conversation. Now, the student must also know how to choose a topic, like nomination, how to make a small talk, no? Kasi, for example, no, as a person, as a child, na pag iniwan ng parents sa bahay tapos may dumating, they don't know how to make a small talk. O kaya, with a stranger, so, kunyari nasa may nakasalubong ka or nasa isang lugar ka na you're not familiar with, and sometimes we don't know how to start a small talk. So, pwede din siyang ituro sa bata if what they want to learn is how to interact. Okay? Joking, recounting of personal incidents and experiences, turn taking, interrupting, reacting to others, and using an appropriate style of speaking. Now this, I think it's hard to teach it in a direct approach. Mahirap ituro itong talk as interaction in a direct approach. But rather, you can use this, no, or you can teach this in an indirect approach and then just do reflection logs or observation to your students, checklist to your students, and then, or reflection, no, para ma-check nila kung ano ba yung mga kailangan nilang i-improve when they are having a conversation. So it's hard to teach talk as interaction in a direct approach. Okay? Now, what are the activities that you can do, you can give to your student to um, develop or for talk as interaction? Pwedeng small talk, no? Allow them to have small talks with their seatmates, with their peers. Pwede din giving feedback or back channeling, no? So, give them a conversational partner, a conversational peer, and then um, they must use expressions that will indicate that they are in um, interested in the topic or interested in that conversation, or hot seats, no? So the student, you will just choose one student and then he or she should make a statement, and the other members of the class will ask question about the topic. So yeah, and there are many lot of activities that you can also give to your students where they will just talk with their seatmate. Pwede siguro meron silang bowl of topics and then they will just talk about that. Okay, so although alam naman natin na ang estudyante natin na mahilig na silang makapag-usap, but there are some students who are having a hard time to talk. So you can give this activity to allow them to experience how to actually have a conversation. Okay, not only with the peers that they are comfortable with, but also with other people. Kung paano ba, ano ba yung mga dapat ng words na iwasan, o kaya paano ba i-treat or makipag-usap sa mga tao na hindi mo pa naman masyadong kilala. Ano, no? So allow them to also realize and learn how to read the room, especially when having conversation. Next, we have the talk as transaction. Pag sinabi naman natin talk as a transaction, it refers to the situation where the focus is on what is said and done. The message and making oneself understood clearly and accurately is the central focus, rather than the participants and how they interact socially with each other. So talk as a transaction, no? They are not focused anymore with the relationship they have, or it does not focus on the interaction anymore. Pero ang function nito is to speak in a way that what you said or what you will do is accurate. Tama yung sinabi mo? Tama? So it's the accuracy of your utterance. It's the accuracy of the statement that you will deliver. It's the accuracy of delivery. Okay? So talk as transaction. Now, ano yung mga example ng talk as transaction? Una, yung mga classroom group discussion, class activities, no? O kaya makikipag-usap ka sa computer technician about your repairs. Makikipag-usap sa tour guide. Makikipag-telephone call about your flight information, no? Asking someone about the direction on the street, how to buy in a shop, how to order from a restaurant, no? How to email, for example, and how to talk to someone in a telephone about your customer concerns. Okay, as a customer, what are your concerns? If you have feedback, if you have problems, no, with the service, no, this is talk as transaction. Ibig sabihin, you are having transaction. And if you can see, this is in a more formal way. So, ang gusto mo na dito, gusto na matutuhan, ay kung paano. No? Paano ba makikipag-communicate na tama yung sasabihin ko? Okay? It's about the accuracy of what you will say. Now, ay, bakit wala? Okay, so it's about the accuracy of what you will say. Now, what activities can you give about this? So, pwede kang magbigay ng scenarios, okay? So, mga role-playing. So, you can give role-playing in a way that they will talk to someone from, for example, customer service, paano ba makikipag-usap, pwede din na bibigyan mo sila ng scenarios, ng dialogue, tapos pupunan nila yung dialogue, what they will say. Okay? So this can be taught in a direct approach as well. Ano ba yung, bigyan mo yung mga bata ng mga phrases na pwede nilang gamitin when they are having transactions. Okay? Para pag sakaling maranasan nila yon or they are already in that situation, they will focus on what will the other person will say. Makakapag-focus sila dun kasi alam na nila kung anong sasabihin nila because they were already trained. No? So, bibigyan mo sila ng mga sample statements na pwede nilang gamitin when they are having transactions. Okay? So, it can be taught in a direct and indirect approach. And last one is talk as performance. No, this refers to public talk. That is, talk that transmits information before an audience, such as classroom presentation, public announcements, and speeches. Now, ito yung kadalasan na pinapagawa natin sa mga bata. No, when it comes to speaking, pero hindi lang pala dapat yun. No? Madalas kasi in the classroom, what we teach the student, pag sinabi natin speaking, ay sige, speech choir, ay sige, public speech, sige, speech delivery, oration, declamation, ganon. No, ganon agad yung nasa isip natin, thinking natin when it comes to speaking. Pero hindi pala ganon. No? There are different functions of speaking. And it depends, or the way we teach the student should depend on what they need. Ano ba kailangan nila? Matutong makipag-interact, matutong makipag-transact, or matutong mag-perform. So, we should know what do the students need. Okay? Kung ano kailangan patihon. But this one, in talk as performance, we are already in public speaking. So, delivering a speech or delivering speaking in front of audience. Pag sinabi natin audience, of course, there are many people already. Okay? So, ano yung mga pwede natin ipagawa? It could be a public announcement. They will announce, they will have classroom reports, speeches. Okay? So, conducting debate, speech, welcome and speech, o kaya valedictory address, or delivering a speech. Yun yung mga pwede natin ipagawa sa mga estudyante when what we want to develop is talk as performance. Okay? All right. So, um, in Taka's performance as well, you can, aside from giving them the task na, okay, you have to deliver a speech, no? Ito din yung mga pwede mong ibigay sa kanila as a guide in the process. In teaching Toka's performance, this is also done in the direct and indirect approach. Of course, you have to teach them first how to make a speech. What are the strategies that they can use when they are delivering speeches in front of an audience? What are the things that they must remember when it comes to reporting or presentations in front of an audience? Okay, so, and in speaking or talk as performance, grammatical grammar is also important. Kailangan tama ang grammar mo. Kailangan tama ang pronunciation mo. Kailangan tama ang vocabulary na gamit namin. Okay, so you can ask these questions or give these questions as a guide when they are going to develop or to make or to develop their talk as performance, right? And that's it. No? So we have three functions: talk as interaction, talk as transaction, and talk as performance. Now, these are the suggestions, some suggestions for teachers when they are teaching speaking. As a language teacher, now it's one of the macro skills that you should teach to your student. How are they going to speak? Okay, this is expressive macro skill. So, ito lang yung mga kailangan yung tandaan. Isa, onti lang naman to, no? Na kailangan yung tandaan when you are teaching students how to speak. Not literally how to speak, but teach them speaking. First, provide a maximum opportunity for students to speak the target language by providing rich environment that contains collaborative work, authentic materials and tasks, and shared knowledge. Okay, so you have to give a lot of activity, not a lot, but enough amount of activity where the students will practice their speaking skills. Now, it could be a collaborative activity, it could be through authentic materials, by making your performances or performance tasks authentic, and yeah, share knowledge and collaborative work. O kaya give them input that is comprehensible. Okay, siguro alam niyo naman yung comprehensible input from the language acquisition. Next, try to involve each student in speaking activity. So in speaking activity, most of the time, the problem is, ma'am, kasi ang dami namin estudyante. Okay? Hindi pwedeng isa-isa. Kung sino lang yung mag-volunteer o kung sino lang yung matatawag. Pero in speaking class, um, it's okay if it will not be finished in one sitting only. Pero um, you should also involve each student, not only by making them pronounce in chorus or having them have drills, pronunciation drills in chorus, pero isa-isahin mo din talaga sila. Okay? Para din troubleshoot mo or malaman mo sino ba yung may problem sa speaking. Okay? So, kailangan maisa-isa talaga yung mga estudyante. Reduce teacher speaking time in class. Step back and observe students. Diba? So this is when they are having an activity, especially for example, group activity or paired activity. Teacher, you have to step back. It's not only about you. It's not only about you students listening to how good you are in pronunciation. Because however good you are in pronunciation and speaking, if you will always be the one to talk, hindi nahuhon yung speaking skills ng bata. Ikaw lang. So, in speaking class, no, it's better if the teacher is only a facilitator rather than the center of the classroom. Facilitator ka lang. Let them talk. Okay? So, step back ka muna, teacher. Mamaya ka na. Para di hindi ka din masyadong mapagod. Okay? Indicate positive signs when commenting on the student's response. All right. So of course you have to provide feedback, just like verbal feedback, like very good, you did well, and not only just that, but it can be also, it should be a specific, specific comments about a specific feedback about the student's performance. Dapat din, no? Specific. Well, you did well because you pronounce or you articulate the sound very good. You both use your upper and lower lip, no? So it could be specific as that. Another one is ask eliciting questions such as what do you mean? How do you reach a conclusion in order to prompt students to speak more. Diba? During recitation is also a speaking activity. Okay? Pero do not just um, receive their answer in a way that masagot lang yung una mong tanong. But also elicit questions. Well, what do you mean by that? How are you able to come up with that answer? Diba? So have follow-up questions. Next, provide written feedback. Like your presentation was really great, it was a good job. I really appreciated your efforts in preparing the materials and efficient use of your voice. No, but again, your feedback should be specific. Now, in what way is it very good? Bakit siya very good? Bakit meron siyang kailangan? Bakit hindi siya masyadong maganda? What are the things that they need to still improve on, di ba? Ano yung mga hindi pa gaanong ka-okay. So it should be specific when we are giving feedback. And class, if you're going to give feedback, make sure that it's not only to one student, but if you can, no, you must give all the students a feedback. Okay? Do not correct students' pronunciation mistakes very often while they are speaking. Correction should not distract the student from their or her speech. No? And this is commonly mistake done by the teachers. When the student is speaking, when the student is reading, right there and then, when the students commit the mispronunciation, kakat. No, ano sinasabi mong almond? Almond. Say almond. Okay? So the student will be distracted if you are consciously or continuously or correcting them. Pwede ka magbigay ng feedback after they are done reading or they are done speaking, they are done, especially in oral recitation. No? Yung pinaprocess pa kasi nila yung sasabihin nila. Of course, it should be processed. So yung flow of thought nila, especially when it comes to oral recitation, yung flow of thought nila mapuputol when when you continuously correct them right there and then when they commit the mistake. Pwedeng patapusin mo muna sila and then, okay, um, you said the word pronunciation, but next time it should be pronunciation, ha? The correct pronunciation for that word is pronunciation and not pronunciation. Can you repeat it? Pronunciation. Diba? So, not in, again, wag mo silang puputulin, especially when it's oral recitation, kasi nga, the flow of thought will be gone. Okay? And involve speaking activities not only in class but also out of class. Contact parents and other people who can help. Okay, so this is the hard one because you have to also include the parents. Pero it's also better if you will give your students the chance to not only learn the language inside the class, na hindi lang sa class. Okay? So allow them or give them activity where they will practice their speaking skills outside the classroom. Kasi doon naman talaga nila gagamitin. They will not be forever in the classroom. So give them activities where they will talk with other people, talk outside the classroom. So give them homeworks such as that. Circulate around the classroom to ensure that students are on the right track. See whether they need your help while they work in groups or pairs. Of course, ito yung sinasabi kanina, no? As a facilitator, hindi ibig sabihin na magpapahinga ka lang. Hindi ibig sabihin na pag group activity or peer activity, nandun ka lang, nakaupo ka lang dun sa teacher's desk. No, it's not what is meant by group activity. When you are giving them group activity, peer activity, no, although they are busy with their partners, it's still your job to circulate around the classroom, to roam around, and to check whether they are on the right track. Baka kasi naliligaw ng landas yung mga anak mo, no? Yung mga bata, yung mga estudyante na hawak. No? So you have to keep on checking on them, no? If they are actually on the right track. Ang group activity ay hindi mo pahinga. Oo, pahinga sa pagsasalita, no? But it's not yet your rest. You have to still check on the works of your students. Okay? And also through that observe them. Okay? And in the process, you can also grade the process. Okay? And provide the vocabulary beforehand the students need in speaking activities if ever you are going to let them check or to um, assess them in a way that they will uh, read a poem. Okay, so give the vocabulary already, the drills, no, the words, so that they can practice on their own before the assessment itself. And diagnose problems faced by students who have difficulty expressing themselves in the target language and provide more opportunities to practice the spoken language. That's why it's important that one-on-one, on one by one, you include the students. No? Hindi yung kung sino lang yung mahilig sumagot, sino lang yung magaling na mag-pronounce, sila lang. So it's important that you actually listen to them one by one on how they speak so that you will be able to diagnose what's their problem and give proper remedy for that. No remediation. What is the proper activity for that? If it's needed to give them another activity to develop their speaking skills, okay lang yun, no? Kaysa yung mapag-iiwanan sila. Kasi sila na lang yung hindi marunong. O kaya sila pa yung medyo malayo dun sa target mo or dun sa goal nyo. Okay? So, it's important to include students one by one and to listen to students speaking, no, student speaking one by one so that you will be able to diagnose correctly what's their needs. Okay, so that's all in speaking. So I hope that you will be able um to rely or use this things, this discussion in writing your own lesson plan. Okay, so consider these factors when writing a speaking or your lesson plan in speaking. But in your activity, you are going to write a speaking and listening lesson plan. So in one, pagsasama nyo lang siya, no, in a lesson, in that lesson plan, meron na siyang speaking and listening. Pwedeng ang gawin nyo, ang input nyo ay listening, tapos ang output ay speaking. Okay? So, it depends on how are you going to plan your lesson. Basta, it should include two macro skill, listening and speaking macro skills. Okay? Alright? But if you will be having any question after you watch this, you can always contact me. Okay? So that's all. Thank you very much.